Two top teams in action Saturday night see who took over the top spot in one conference. Which teams are poised to move up the table in the second half of the season and how two huge transfers could impact the playoff race. Soccer Central starts now. Welcome into Soccer Central. DC United finished last year as the worst team in MLS, a full 10 points behind anyone else in the league. Right above United in the Eastern Conference last year, Toronto FC. Last season, the two teams combined for just 45 points. This year, they've already combined for 49. And on Saturday night, the teams met in a game that was symbolic of the turnaround. It actually had playoff implications. Michael Bradley, starting for Toronto just 4 days after playing every minute in the USA's extra time loss to Belgium. He would go about 60 minutes, and the opportunities were there for the Reds. 21st minute, nice pass in here by Colin Warner, puts Jermaine Defoe into the box, but Bill Hamid, doing his best Tim Howard impression, makes a great save. It's scoreless still. 54th minute now, great hustle play by Nick DeLeon. Steals the ball off Nick Hagelin, going to make a couple Toronto defenders look silly, and then he's going to finish past Joe Bednick. That makes it 1-0 United, but Toronto would pull even just 5 minutes later. Another good ball to put Defoe through. Little stop, he's going to tee up Jackson. The shot's going to be parried by Hamid, but Luke Moore right there to poke it across the line, and that would be 1-1. TFC controlled long periods of this game, but DC was actually able to take advantage of the few chances it had. Perry Kitchen taking advantage of one here, heads in off the corner. It's 2-1, and that's how it would end. Ben Olsen's team moves top of the table in the Eastern Conference. And from the top of the table in the East to the top of the table in the West, the Seattle Sounders entered the weekend with a 10-point lead in the conference and the Supporters' Shield race, but RSL picked up 3 points on Friday night. So the Sounders will be facing off one of their Cascadia rivals in the Vancouver Whitecaps, trying to get those 3 points back. Seattle missing all kind of players for this game. Clint Dempsey, DeAndre Yedlin coming off World Cup duty. The normal midfield pairing of Osvaldo Alonso and Gonzalo Pineda both suspended, and Vancouver would take advantage of the depleted Sounders early on. Sebastian Fernandez finding a pocket of space here and hits an absolute laser into the top corner. It's 1-0 Vancouver. Seattle would dominate most of this game, but this curler from Marco Papa in stoppage time, the closest the Sounders would come to equalizing. The Whitecaps get the win and take a 5-point lead in the Cascadia Cup standings. And while Seattle will most likely get Yedlin back in the lineup at some point in the next week, and he should be starting for the rest of the year, but it might be only for the rest of this year. Greg Seltzer of No Short Corners reports Italian giant AS Roma is working to finalize the details of a contract for the talented right back. Now, the deal would have Yedlin loaned back to the Sounders to finish the season before he heads overseas. Yedlin played extremely well in his 2 appearances at the World Cup, and there's no question he has talent. The physical tools are there. There might not be a faster player in MLS. Now, this is an exciting move, but Yedlin needs to make sure he's going to play if he makes the jump to Europe. Playing every week for Seattle is one of the main reasons he's developed so quickly. He also needs to improve his one-on-one defending and decision-making before he can be a consistent starter for a top team in a top 4 league. One thing that could work in Yedlin's favor, though, Roma will play in the Champions League this year. That means more games, more squad rotation. Could work his way into the lineup at some point. He could also be helped by an American owner that actually gave Michael Bradley a fair shot when he was at the club. And another MLS defender could be cashing in on a strong World Cup performance. Rumors are swirling about the future of Sporting Kansas City center back Matt Besler. Team CEO Rob Heineman says the club has multiple offers for the defender. However, head coach Peter Vermes says he thinks the team has a good chance to keep Besler and teammate Gran Zusi. Even more interesting, Besler's agent didn't rule out his client staying in Kansas City. He says if Besler stays, it means the defender wants to finish out his career with the team that drafted him. Now, this could kind of be a landmark moment for MLS. Commissioner Don Garber, he says he wants the league to be one of the world's best by 2022. Proving MLS can develop and then keep talented American players like Besler would be a significant step toward that goal. Sporting probably shouldn't accept anything less than $10 million if they do sell Besler, who performed extremely well. He's very important to that Sporting team. Greg Seltzer says a decision will be made on Besler's future sometime in the next 2 weeks. Well, with those transfers in mind, we take a look at the standings heading into the second half of the MLS season. At the top of the East, like we said, DC United surged into first place after the win over Toronto. but Sporting Kansas City can take back that top spot with a win over Chicago on Sunday. Meanwhile, further down the table, Houston's struggles continue. They scored for the first time in 6 league games but could only manage to tie with New York. Dom Kinnear's MO is sneaking into the playoffs, then getting hot at the right time. This team is certainly capable of doing that, but they need to get hot quick. And in the Western Conference, Seattle's still comfortably at the top, but RSL does manage to cut the Sounders' lead to 7 points with the win this week. LA also in good shape despite sitting outside the playoff spots right now. That's because I think the Galaxy will grab one of these last 3 playoff spots. I think the Sounders and RSL are going to grab the first 2. Bruce Arena's team has at least 2 games in hand on all of the top 5 teams, and he has a roster that knows how to win. Now, just 6 points separate 3rd and 8th place in the Western Conference. Like I said, Seattle and RSL, I think safe bets to make the playoffs. It's going to be an absolute dogfight for those last 3 postseason spots. Timbers owner Merritt Paulson actually tweeted his team will make the playoffs despite sitting 7th in the conference right now. Now, we know Portland can score, but it's the defense that is going to decide how far the Timbers go. Caleb Porter's going to be hoping that new signing Liam Ridgewell can lead a defense that is still trying to find consistency from a rotation of center backs. Now, heading over to the Eastern Conference, I think Sporting Kansas City is in a great position. Vermes has kept his team near the top of the table despite missing 2 of his biggest stars in Zusi and Beasler, and dealing with injury after injury to an already thin back line. Now, Beasler might leave, like we said, but there seems to be a good chance that Zusi stays. Sporting's also one of the teams in the mix for national teamer Jermaine Jones, who's widely rumored to be coming back to MLS. Jones's box-to-box play and physical style would be a perfect fit for Sporting, and it would also let Vermes move Lawrence Olam to center back if he needs to kind of cover for some of those injuries that they've had back there. Now, one team to watch here in the East might be Philadelphia. The Union hasn't had a very impressive first half of the season, but there's talent on this team. They're starting Connor Casey now and using Sebastian Letou as more of a goal-scoring threat off the wing. That's helped them get some better results. Now, if the front office can make 1 or 2 moves in the transfer window, I actually see the Union as a legitimate playoff contender. We'll have to see if they're able to make those moves.